Hi everybody, it is Megan Zeckman and I am from Education Possible, and I blog over there with my friend Susan Williams, and we talk all about homeschooling, middle school and high school. Hello, welcome. I'm going to turn this around. Hi, there we go. So anyway, I'm Megan Zeckman and I'm with Education Possible. I blog over at Education Possible. And we talk all about homeschooling middle school and high schoolers because that's the age of our kids. So it just makes life easy. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about, hi, welcome. I wanted to talk a little bit about notebooking, because one of the things that we talked about, Susan and I, when we started the blog, one of the reasons we started the blog was because as our kids were getting older and our friends' kids were getting older, we were under the impression that we had to kind of stop doing things the way we always did them. So like notebooking or lapbooking, activities, hands-on fun, when we were going to have to go to textbooks. And neither one of us likes that. So we decided that we were going to kind of do middle school our own way. We were going to keep using the tools that we were using, maybe adapting them a little bit, but we wanted to keep going the way we were. And one of those things is notebooking, especially with history. And so we, in my house, excuse me, we've continued that. We've continued using notebooking through, as we're getting into middle school. I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader. And we don't do as many lap books anymore that we did in the younger grades, but we do use notebooking. And I wanted to share kind of why we still use notebooking, because I think a lot of parents are under the impression, falsely, that especially once you hit middle school and definitely high school, that you need to stop doing things like that. That, you know, go to textbooks and quizzes and, you know, just more formal things. But you don't have to. So today on the blog, we released our brand new printable. We try to release every couple months a new packet, a new unit for history, and it's a free printable, so you can go on the blog today and it's there. It's all about the gold rush. So we've done one for colonial times, we've done one for pioneers, and then our newest one today was about the gold rush. And these are the tools that I use with my girls as we go through these periods of history. We study history chronologically, and so as we work through all these different time frames, I use a lot of notebooking pages. So I started creating my own because I didn't want to just have blank notebooking pages, because I was able to find a lot of those where, you know, you have kind of a square, you know, a box, and then you have lines to write in. And so then you would kind of read a section or watch a video, and then they would kind of narrate what they've learned. We do that occasionally. I use that more in other studies. Excuse me. For history, I've been creating these units. And the reason I've been doing it is because I want my kids to be as independent as possible with their learning. I want them to take as much control, as much charge of their learning as they can, because they're 11 and 13 now, and they're going to need to keep taking more and more control as they get older. And so I'm starting them now in middle school, and I started a little bit at the end of grade school, so that to give them that skill, that desire, that they want to have a little bit more control over what they're learning. So these notebooking pages, these notebooking units that we create are, I don't want to say fill in the blank, because there's a lot of discussion with them as well, but you can use them a couple different ways. So in this one we have mapping. So one of the things that we have is mapping the gold rush in California. And we also have on the other side the sea land, not the sea land, that doesn't make any sense. The sea routes that the prospectors took from like New York, and how did they get to San Francisco? And so you kind of map that. So it's this, you're adding in geography, and so they're mapping out these locations. With one of our other printables, they were mapping the 13 colonies, or they were mapping the trails that the pioneers took out west. So this one, we're mapping where the gold rush happened, some Sutter's Mill, Sutter's Fort, where the mother lode was found, the rivers that were around there. And so they're working on these geography skills. And then the other thing that I have within the pages are a whole bunch of research questions. And these are in these little boxes, but they have the questions already in there for them. And so, one of them was, what did President Polk do on December 5th, 1848? And so we have all of these great questions in there. Who was Levi Strauss, and what did he contribute to the gold rush? What were the feelings toward the immigrant miners in the beginning, and when did that change? When did California become a state? Did the gold rush have anything to do with it becoming a state when it did? And so you can do it one of two ways. You can walk through kind of your lessons with your kids. I use a lot of living books for history. So I have like a big book list, and then we watch videos as well. So I will go through kind of a time period and we'll study it, and then they can go through and answer these questions. Or you can kind of hand them this unit and they can use it as they're going through. Oh, let me find the answer to this question. So you can you can take out some of the books from the library. We have some great book lists in there too of what we've used for research. And the kids can do all their own research. So you can kind of do it one of two ways. It really depends on your kids and how much you want them to do on their own. Or you can do it all with them. You can do it as a family. You can work side by side with older kids and younger kids and just have them do different things that are a part of it. I also have a bunch of discussion questions, because teenagers, once they start middle school, these kids are really grasping the idea of discussion. Their brains have changed. They're able to carry on these conversations. They're able to, work with abstract thinking. And so you can really start relating things for them, and they don't have to answer yes, no questions or just kind of fill in the blanks. So you can have these deeper conversations. And I love doing that with history, because it really brings it to life for them, and they can relate it to present day, or they can talk about other parts of history. And so that really works. So we have a couple pages of discussion questions. And so, one of it, why did the 49ers leave everything behind on this quest? And do you think their sacrifice was worth it? So giving their opinions, educated opinions, because they've done this research, and so they can kind of put themselves in the miner's position. And then also I have a financials of gold mining page, so they can go through and do the research. How much did miners really make? Because we have this impression that these gold miners went and made fortunes, and some of them did, but a lot of them didn't. And so not only did they not make a ton of money, once the gold was found and it was broadcasted and everyone finally believed that gold was found, so 1849, everything tripled. The price of everything tripled, or more. And so these miners are making, a few dollars a day when the easy gold was gone, yet things cost them so much money. And so they can kind of walk through that in these notebooking pages. So the reason I use notebooking pages is because it's a springboard and it fosters independent learning. And it's a way, the ones that we create, you have mapping, you're going to have discussion, you're going to have research, there's some art in there, there's an activity in there, there's a recipe, so you can tie it into cooking. Sometimes there's a craft, sometimes there's a game. And so we just have almost like a unit study, but we don't include necessarily science and things like that like you would in a normal unit study. So it really is still notebooking, but I like the ones where it's kind of, I've put a lot of thought into what I want my kids to learn as we study this time period, and that's what I put in these units. So then, like I said, I can give them the papers if I really want to. Or we do a lot of history, we do a lot of it together. And so we'll walk through, but one can be working on one question and another can be working on another question, a different question, and then we can share. So then they're sharing what they're learning as well. And so there's more than one way to do notebooking, and this is one that fits with our style So if you've kind of tossed notebooking aside, I want to encourage you to bring it back with middle schoolers. And you can do it, like I said, you can do it where you read a living book, or you watch a video, or you play a game, or you do this recipe, and then you kind of take notes on it, that you have the blank pages. And so it's really like narration. You could do dictation on them too, because that's a good skill for the kids to learn for taking notes. Or do it this way and already kind of have map out what you want them to learn, and then they can work through it on their own, or with you, but they're really leading the charge on that. So a lot of people, like I said, really think that notebooking needs to be put aside once they hit middle school, and I really don't believe that's true. Find what works for your kids, what they're needing, what they enjoy, and try it that way. There's a lot of notebooking pages online. A lot of them are free. Ours is free. You can get them on our website, and our other two are on there as well. We have our, like I said, we have our Pioneer notebook pages, and we have our Colonial notebooking pages on there. So if you're studying those parts in history, feel free to use ours. But there's all different kinds. You can look on Pinterest, just put in notebooking for students. And what I would suggest, if you're not doing a lot of notebooking, pick a subject, because it gets overwhelming when they're doing a ton of writing, and give them the time to work through it, because they can answer your questions oftentimes a lot faster than they can write them, or design your own and let them type the answers in. So, leave it in a Publisher document or a Word document, and then they can even just type in their answers, and they can work on their typing skills as well. So, look at what you're trying to get across to them, and look at it as another medium to get there, but adapt it to what works for your family. And if it's not out there, see if you can create something yourself. Because I bet that now that they're a little bit older, if your children didn't like notebooking, it might be time to revisit it. Or if you've been doing it forever, try out a different way. There's so many different ways to do it. You can do it in a composition book. You can do pages like this. It really doesn't matter, but it's really getting that information in and then back out, so that you can see they really are understanding what you're working on. Because, like I read some of our questions, they're not just fill in the blanks. Some of them are. Some of them, are pretty easy. You can Google, when California became a state. But some of them they have to put thought into, and they really have to have studied, and they have to have read up on that particular subject. There's some in there where they have to describe all the different ways that they mined for gold, because, once the easy gold was gone, they advanced in their mining techniques. And then talking about those mining techniques, what happened to the environment, and were they detrimental then to the environment, and how? And so they need to have this understanding. And so putting this other thought into it, so then when they work through these pages, I know that they really, I don't want them to regurgitate facts to me. I want, especially with history, I want them to understand what happened and why it happened, and how it starts to tie together. And so that's why I use pages like this. So hopefully you've learned something, and we'll give notebooking another look if you haven't been using it all along, or if you have, like I said, try something a little bit different. If you want our pages, we're at educationpossible.com. They're free to download. They're for our subscribers, but we send out all kinds of cool things to our subscribers. We actually do quite a few downloads on our page, because we are having a hard time finding some of these fun activities for middle schoolers or early high school, so we create a lot of our own. So again, I'm Megan Zeckman, and I'm with educationpossible.com. And we also have a Facebook group, so if you're homeschooling a middle schooler or a high schooler, pop on over to our Facebook page, and you can connect over with our Facebook group, where there's all kinds of moms and dads talking about curriculum and teenage angst and grading and credits and all kinds of things. So we would love to have you join us. I'm hoping to be back tomorrow. I'm trying to find a schedule that I can work with, that I'm here every day. So hopefully we will see you tomorrow.